I know a lot of times too, when we're dealing with shame or guilt around our money, we tend to judge other people who do have money for the choices that they make with their money. And saying we would do these certain things, or, like when I was in college, I would be like, yo, why can't somebody rich just pay for my college? They don't need all that money. Like, what do they need all that money for? Like, I need help over here. I still have student loans. Hello. But it's like, why would they pay for my student loans? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get real. And like, it's their money and they get to choose what they do with their money. And when you get the opportunity to create the money that you want, build the life that you want, you'll have the same opportunity. And look at it as if, you know what? They're doing what they're doing with their money, and that's cool. And I'm going to make that a point that I actually want to get money because I want to do the opposite.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rich in Real Life. I am here with another incredible guest. And even though Rich in Real Life is rich in everything, rich in spirit, rich in community, rich in connection, rich in health, rich still means rich, y'all. In order for us to live a life of presence, passion, purpose, and connection, we sometimes have to have the assets, the belief, the understanding, and the bank account that allows for it. So I'm so excited to have this guest today. She's been on my former podcast, The Stranded Phase. She is someone I like to call a dear friend. She is the host of the Wealth Babe podcast. She's a real estate investor. She is a all-around incredible human, but she's a money mindset coach. And coming from an individual that has dealt with some struggles around her coins, y'all. I think it's so important to bring someone on here like this because I had to unravel and unpack, and I'm still kind of weaving together the things that I'm learning around my money mindset. So I'm really excited to have none other than just an all-around good human and a friend of mine, Lorisa Leigh.
Hey.
Welcome.
I'm excited. Hey, y'all.
I could not think of anybody better to do Rich in Real Life with, because I think not only do you help people really break those blocks and manifest, what they're looking for, or just understand the tools around manifestation, but I firmly believe that you and your husband do really live a life that is rich in real life.
Yeah. We do.
It's beautiful. It's freaking beautiful.
No, it's great. I love it. And, I really couldn't do it, honestly, without him. We're two very, I don't want to say we're the same, but we're also very different people in the way we think about business and money. And I think I need that from him. And I think also he needs that from me. So I couldn't do it by myself.
All the shit we be talking on here, I'm so glad to finally have someone on here that's talking about love. And real connection and like playing opposites.
Yeah.
Like I can be everything you're not.
Right.
I can fill in where you're weak. I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it comes full circle in business a lot. So I wouldn't be able to do it without him. So
do you feel like
he better be saying the same about me too? But
I was going to say, do you feel like you can, and then we're going to get it. This is where we'll deep dive right off the front end. Okay. So as a money hungry hustler, right? The fight or flight, the survivor in me, I'm so used to like, money doesn't come unless you go get it, go, right? And work harder than everyone else, right? I always give like the dishwasher analogy of like, the dishwasher works 3 times harder than everyone else just to simply keep their job. Like it's like you hustle harder than everyone else. And you think if you can indeed prove that to yourself for some reason and the world, you will make more money. Right. And I also find when I'm in a money hustling space, I am extremely masculine. Like, gotta have it, gotta get it. So logical. And I know it. It's funny. Like, when you're in your masculine, but I also know it because I make the physical joke of like, you couldn't touch me when I'm in that mode. Yeah. Literally could not physically touch me. Like a man could flirt with me and I'd probably be so confused. Blocked. Like when I'm in like, okay, I gotta do this, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, oh, when I do this, this is gonna happen. And I could be in a grocery store thing and a man be like, hey, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Excuse me.
Excuse you. Your girl is in thinking mode over here. So with a husband who you both run multiple businesses together, do you feel like you can be in your feminine and attract money? Because people feel like we're kind of, is it just me or sometimes like the feminine just sounds so flowy and not lazy, but just It'll come.
Right. I think it's a balance between both. And when I say a balance, it's not like equal parts. It's just that who do I need to be in this moment, in this time, and knowing that this moment, it's okay to be this way. But also just knowing yourself and knowing when you do get to the point of exhaustion or when you're pushing certain things away, like, is this the best version of me in this moment? So also too, like, we're not coming from backgrounds with money. You know, like we're figuring this out along the way. And since we have a barrier to break through, there's going to be points of hustle in your business till you get to a point where it doesn't have to be like that. And we shouldn't make that wrong. That's just the process. That's the requirement that we have to go through because we weren't brought up with money. Now there's people who've been born with money who are in a place where they can just be like, you know what? They have the team already. They have places for investments, and that's different. But
I admire that mindset.
Yeah.
I'm like, when do I get there?
Right.
When do I just know money's coming?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's just coming. It'll be there.
Right. but if you've been in a place, I feel like for so long, or if you've even grown up with it, it's like, it's not even a thing. It's like air breathing. Like air's going to be there, you know, it's been there ever since I was born. You know what I mean? So like when we can get
Y'all
to
really
that
live
space,
like that?
People be living like that. Dubai?
Oh my God.
They be living like that.
Just leave the car here.
Right?
It's no big deal.
It's crazy over there. Right, exactly. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being that masculine because I have to be like that too. But when I go back and I'm with my husband in our home, I do have to make a conscious decision to turn that off because we can carry that over. And at one point in my life, you know, like to go through college, to get my job, like I had to be that. There was nobody else. There was no one else there. I had to be that.
Right.
So like, do I really have a choice? So it's just understanding, again, the balance of both, you know, and not over hustling or overworking yourself to the point, again, of exhaustion and totally getting out of that flow because we want to play on both because they're both required. So
you said a mouthful there because I'm sitting there thinking, I talk about this all the time as like women that are, I don't know what we label them. I don't know what society calls them now because they change the name every quarter.
Right.
High value woman, type A, living a life by design, kind of just like creating her own path. It unfortunately, and I hate to say this that way, but it's really a trauma response. Most times it's really a trauma response. Like God bless it to the women that are like, no, I just always saw this for myself. But that definitely was not me. And it was a response to, I'm going to survive. I'm not only going to survive, but I'm going to have life the way I want it.
Amen.
I'm going to have life the way that I want it. But it turns us into someone that we don't want to be in partnership.
Right.
It absolutely does.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you because like I went so hard in school. I went so hard in my career because I didn't want to have the same experience as my mom. She was a single mom and she worked really hard. She did everything she could and I'm so appreciative. But I was like, I cannot be a burden to her. So I have to work so hard. So I'm not that. So I'm not reverting to that. But then when I got in my marriage, that attitude didn't serve me anymore, you know? And I had to learn too, you know, Lorisa, like, it's not all about you. It's not about, you know, you going your way and Doug going his way and you guys just living your life together on your separate paths. But it's like, all right, I had to shut a part of myself and try to be more submissive, not in a way of like, oh, you know, I'll do anything for you, but just understanding like, okay, you don't have to do it. Like we're in partnership, even in a business relationship. Like you don't have to do everything yourself anymore. Like you have your role, I have mine. Let's figure out this together, you know? So I totally feel what you're saying.
And that survival instinct says either I do everything or nothing gets done.
Absolutely.
And then we get in a partnership and we're like, move.
Right. I got this.
And then the man's like, so what do I actually need to do? Because if you don't need me, why am I here? So
yeah. It's definitely a learning and unlearning. And it doesn't happen in a year or 2 or 3. It just happens over time. And it's still a constant, you know, thing that I have to remember. Like, okay, well, shut it down a little bit.
Scale back.
Yeah, right.
Everybody doesn't need this version of you.
Everybody doesn't need a version of you. That's right.
So, okay. So let's go back to this because we're talking about this being a, you know, fight or flight, survival response, trauma response of I will not be a burden to someone, whether it was, I don't want to be a burden to someone or never feel it. There's so many women that come up and don't ever feel like they have a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mentor would always be like, I don't ever worry about you being broke because you always figure it out. You'll have, when I was younger, she would be like, you'd be in college with $10 and then, and be somewhere else. And I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
She's like, you always figure it out. So for whatever reason, whether we didn't feel like we had a backbone, we don't want to be a burden to someone else, or we just decided I grew up a certain way and I'm not going to do life that way when I'm an adult.
Right.
How do we, because I know there's some people listening to this. I'm 33, you 30 something.
I'm 35.
35. Like, this is such an unbecoming journey for us. And I don't know about y'all, but I went through the season of making good money and never seeing it. Like, literally never seeing it. Like, my CPA bringing the profit to me and I'm like, bitch, where? Where? Because how did I make this much and I only spent this much and you're congratulating me for only spending this much in overhead? And then there's this gaping margin,
right? And
it's not in my bank account. Where is it? Like, what happened? And that is such a survival, like, one of the biggest lessons I learned in the beginning was it's not make more money. It's not make more money to afford more stuff. You can make all the monies and not know what the hell you're doing with it. And that's budgeting and unlearning, but you have to heal that shit first.
Absolutely.
Because that comes from a place of always thinking that your bank account is empty, thinking that you don't deserve money, thinking that this is temporary. Right. This is just like, I won the lottery and then I'm done, which is why, what is it? Like 70% of millionaires go broke, or lottery winners go broke. It's 73% of lottery winners literally piss the money away and go bankrupt. It's crazy because they were raised and they don't heal it. And they think they're supposed to be broke. So there's a million places, but where would one begin when they feel like I keep making money and losing it? I know how to make money and I'm losing it. And there's something stuck there that I'm not working through.
Right. Now, I'm glad that you brought up the stress response, because that's really important to understand too while making money, because during that stress response, we either go into the point of either fighting off a threat, because we're literally fighting or running for our life, fighting off a threat or running away. And if we think about going into that stress response around our money, what are we doing with money? We're either fighting it in battle, or we're running away from it, or it's running from us. So when we do notice that stress response, or we're having trauma from that experience, we want to start understanding, okay, what was money like when I was growing up? What was it like in my household? Was it talked about? Was it not talked about? Were the conversations, arguments between parents, or was it just kind of like this like hidden thing where nobody spoke about? And even if nobody spoke about it, what was the feeling in the home? I know for me, I never really thought about it as a child, but once I became a teenager, with my mom being a single parent, like, she worked a lot, and, we lived in a great neighborhood, and fortunately we were safe and had food, but there were some times where, the water bill would be cut off, or like the electric wouldn't be turned on for a day, or she might have to borrow money from like a loan shark to get money or whatever. So, I was always just like, again, like, and I just want to share this story so you guys can see what to do in me is like, I wanted to move out of it so bad, but I ended up recreating the experience. Even though I was making money, it still was never enough.
Yes. So funny how that happens.
It is so funny how that happens. So when we revisit those memories and those times, we want to understand too, and you can journal this out. You can say it to yourself. You can say it in a mirror, but it's understanding that you didn't necessarily choose these beliefs around money. They were placed upon you. And if we understand that our beliefs are always choices, they're not permanent, we can then take the effort to start changing them. I didn't choose those. You didn't choose those. It was just the adults around you that chose that for you. And now is the opportunity for you to choose something different, and you can always choose something different. So what is it that you'd rather believe instead? I know it might be hard to believe it now, but what is it that you can believe instead, so that we can start to deprogram from what you saw as a child and then reprogram with the new belief, the new thought? So reprogramming comes through repetition and it just takes time. So that's why we say affirmations. That's why, we do these therapies that you do, hypnotherapy, tapping, and I don't know, you said EMDR. Yeah, those are like advanced things that can be done. But if you're starting from the ground up, from the bottom, simply journal, simply write affirmations, simply say things in the mirror, put Post-it notes around your mirror as well. And it's always a constant, like, it's not like these thoughts of fear and stress are not going to come up. And it's never the goal to get rid of them completely, but how can we get to a space where they're not controlling your patterns and your actions around money? They can be there, but it's like, can you redirect the thought? And sometimes you have to literally be like, yo, this thought isn't true. Like, there's not enough money. Oh no, you say that out loud. No, this isn't true. This is actually a lie. There's more than enough money.
Yes.
There's $40 quadrillion running around in circulation of money all the time, not in paper money, but it's everywhere. And if we can just bring our attention to that, maybe in this moment, I'm experiencing a temporary form of maybe not having enough, but that's not the permanent story. So.
Okay. So much to unpack here, but I want to go back to this idea of money is energy and energy is our currency. So, to help people that might be at the beginning level of this, and because I remember learning this and still learning this, is just the trade of money back and forth of this circulation of energy and not looking at it as money. What's something you could kind of give us as just like foundational of understanding that money's energy?
Right. So I kind of like to take it back to what money represents from the beginning of time. So before money and coins were even created, we just had a basic level barter system and we were exchanging gifts, goods, and services just as they were. So I want a cow and you want rice. I have rice, you have the cow. Let's just do a direct exchange. But obviously, as the world grew,
at one point, a cow was good enough for a woman.
Right.
Like,
exactly,
I'll give you a cow, you give me the woman. Yeah,
exactly,
it was great.
Yeah. So as the world grew, it doesn't make sense for me to trade a cow in the US with rice in India. It just doesn't work. So for it to be easier to make that exchange, we create a symbol for what the value in the cow represents and the value in the rice represents to me and to the person that I'm trading with. So money is essentially just that symbol representing the value in which that cow or that rice brings. Money in of itself is not value, but we use it to spend and receive the things that we do value. So when we start to take money out of the equation, right, and see the things that we actually exchange with each other, the services that we exchange with each other, and the energy that flows in between there, money isn't as convoluted and isn't as stressful to look at. Because if I can just see, okay, so I spent 40 hours at my job providing my mental energy, my emotional energy, my physical strength, and in return, my employer received gifts from clients or me working with clients or whatever service I'm providing, we see the energy exchange. My little energy goes into those 40 hours. And they literally get energy back from their clients who you're working with. So if we understand that the more energy or the more value we bring in those circumstances, then the universal symbol of what we decided represents value, which is money, because that's what we said, we exchange money for the things that we value. All I need to do is start to bring more energy or more value. And more energy doesn't necessarily mean I have to bring necessarily more of myself, but what other valuable things can I do to raise that value that will then represent money? And money won't stay away from you then, because you're taking it out of the equation and just looking at the energy of that point. And I like to explain to my students that, like when you're starting to purchase things or homes or cars or things like that, really don't look at the money that you're spending, but how many hours did it take you to receive that money to get that car? How many hours are you literally spending? Am I spending 6 months of my life on purchasing this car because what I'm making equates to this car? And we start to look at our time differently and what we're doing with our time differently. And then we start to be like, you know what? Actually, I'm worth more than this 30 grand in 6 months to pay for this car. I'm worth 100 grand in 6 months to pay for that car. So it's just kind of starting again to take money out of that equation and see really what is being exchanged. What is the flow that's being exchanged? And then the value you get in your car. What is the value you receive from your car? A lot of value. You drive to places quicker. You're shielded from the rain, the sun, a lot of things. So it's just looking at that value Because then we can understand that, okay, I bring more value, I get more value. I bring more value, I get more value, and value comes in a direct correlation with money. And sometimes it comes from other places too. But if you want money, that's what you'll receive. So
I'm going to back this up a little bit because I can now almost, and I'm sure you can notice too, is when people deal with like immense shame around money.
mm-hmm.
Like it still baffles me when I meet people that have really bad things to say, especially when you know how much of a tool money is. It is not the goal, it is the tool. And when like there's nothing like, and I'm going to say this in such an elementary way, but when there's something I want or something I'm going after, and the only thing that is between me and that thing is like some exchange of energy, money, like I'm like, oh, that's it. Take it all. Like here you go.
Right.
Because if that's what's in between me and what I need or what's next, to have that and to not second think it, because I know when I put that money out there, it will come back to me tenfold. That is a different type of, that's when I'm like, what a tool.
Yes.
Like what a damn tool this is. But then when I still hear people that are like, you know, the government, money's ruling this world and there's not, it makes people so evil. I heard someone say the other day, it's not money is the root of all evil. It's the lack of money that is the root of all evil.
Yes.
What would you say to people? And we also have to be careful who we surround ourselves with. I had someone make me do an exercise the other day when I was dealing with some severe anxiety at one point about what was to come. And that was a first for me. And I had a therapist that had me write down the 5 people that I was around. And you be thinking, let me tell y'all to stop doing this because I was doing this. You be thinking that you've got the audacity or the strength to be like, well, we all know that we're the sum of the 5 people we surround ourselves with. But for some reason, we think we're stronger than that, or we're more mind strong or resilient. So we're like, yeah, I know the people I surround myself with aren't on my level, but I'm good because I've done enough work. Shit. You will literally naturally evolve into whatever you are around.
Naturally.
So when I was explaining to my therapist that I was like, I have this like newfound anxiety and like, I'm really worried about what's happening with inflation and I don't know about my clients. And she started to ask me factual questions like, well, do you have clients? Do you have recurring income? Do you have this? Do you have that? Even my CPA was like, what the fuck are you freaking out about? Like I'm looking at your numbers. Like you're just having a bad month.
Right.
But your trajectory, you're fine. What do you? And so she had me write down the 5 people I had spent the most time with and put categories. And it was like, are they scared of money? Do they like money? Do they like, and I was honest and I looked and 3 of the 5, I was like, oh,
sure enough.
No shit. Whoops. Put myself in that category.
Yeah.
So what would you say to like, whether we're dealing with it, because we all have a little bit of shame around money, especially if we're growing out of it. Yeah. You know, especially like even with, I could go for hours about, Christian culture and just like being humble.
Yes.
And you're supposed to be so humble when you earn money and like humility and all the things. But whether we're dealing with it or we're surrounded by people that are dealing with it, what would you say to people that are really dealing with immense shame around earning high amounts of money?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'd want to say to people is that, yes, there's a lot of money circulating. And yes, our government runs on money and there's all these bad things to say about money, but we live in a world that this is just what it is. We're not changing it. So play the game, period.
Play the game or be played.
Play the game or be played. Play the game or be played. But as it relates to shame and guilt, and this is, I struggled a lot with this too. It's just understanding and making sure you're looking at examples. Who in the world is ahead of you right now when it comes to their money situation that you can actually look up to and like admire how they're using their money, how they're using that as a tool, and how they're not necessarily putting their money as in the forefront, but you're like their lifestyle. And I don't mean like necessarily a flashy lifestyle, but are they giving to certain charities that they're supporting? Are they able to do a podcast, like a ministry like this, and bring it forth to the world for people to change inwardly, not outwardly?
Okay, ministry. I received that.
Are they able to have freedom of their time?
Yes.
What are they able to do with their time? What are they able to do for their children and for the legacy that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to grow up with? So I would more so say, look at examples for that, because obviously there's a lot of examples in the world where people aren't using their money wisely, but that's because that's what's pushed to the forefront. There are a lot more people in the world doing great things with their money than there is doing bad. But of course, people want to put the bad to the forefront. Also, too, I know a lot of times too, when we're dealing with shame or guilt around our money, we tend to judge other people who do have money for the choices that they make with their money, and saying we would do these certain things, or like when I was in college, I would be like, yo, why can't somebody rich just pay for my college? They don't need all that money. Like, what do they need all that money for? Like, I need help over here. I still have student loans. Hello. But it's like, why would they pay for my student loans? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get real. And like, it's their money and they get to choose what they do with their money. And when you get the opportunity to create the money that you want, build the life that you want, you'll have the same opportunity. And look at it as if, you know what? They're doing what they're doing with their money, and that's cool. And I'm going to make that a point that I actually want to get money because I want to do the opposite. So it's just kind of understanding that you create the choice of what you want it to be. Money does not make anybody. Money does not move unless you make it move. Again, it's a tool. It's like almost saying like, why would you have shame and guilt around a knife that can kill somebody? Like you wouldn't have shame and guilt around a knife or having a lot of knives, would you?
No.
Exactly. So, and a knife is a tool
when
that can
be
used
wrong.
Either way. Exactly. Oh. When they're used wrong though, but they're used wrong all the time, but nobody says anything about it. Like a surgeon does great things with a knife. And a murderer does horrible things.
Clearly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Clearly,
in the wrong hands. Wow.
But it's the same thing with money. So why do we have all this guilt and shame around money? That's just because society has made it that way. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. It doesn't move unless I move it, you move it, we all move it. You're in control. So.
Listen, y'all. This is like good for me.
It's good for me too, because it's always reminders, like seriously.
And so that's great. Yeah. Do we ever, because to me, it's like new boss. Mm-hmm. Like I'm always like, okay, like I'm earning money. Okay, I see myself making better decisions. And I'm like, okay, some of this money's actually staying. This is great. Because one of the things about me is I realize and this is like such a toxic way of living, but I feel like I always have to I feel like the way my life works, my human design is God shows me the vision and he's like, you see what I have for you. It's like a little preview. It's like, I'm driving in the car. I have this little vision. And once I see it clearly, I'm like, oh, God's like, I showed you, you got it. And then he's like, skirt. And then now you do what you want with it. And so I sit in it for a little while. I decide whether or not I'm going to believe that that's true. And then I allow it to start
to believe if you're going to believe it's true. That's big. Oh, go ahead.
I decide. And then I'm like, okay. And then I just start allowing the steps to start rolling. And sometimes there are big, bad bullies in the way of this, aka barriers. And those barriers could look like a lot of times money. Like, where am I going to get the money from to do this? Where am I going to? And I have seen that happen with almost everything in my life, from the space that I've currently been living in for 14 months to the car that I drive to the event that I continue to grow with my business partner that now has a 6-figure price tag on it.
Beautiful event, by the way.
Thank
I was
you.
so happy to be there. The last one was awesome.
It's expensive to run that event, but it's impactful. So that's what matters. As the price tags rise, these bullies get bigger on the next level. It's funny because they get scarier and scarier, but I just find myself rising to the occasion. And it's almost like, even though they get bigger, it's just my ability to push past the fear changes.
Absolutely.
And so I think when one of my listeners asked me to ask you about healing those beliefs around money, how do you, like, I don't think there's an ever ending healing your money trauma. Right. You just kind of continue to grow your money mindset. What does that kind of look like as you level up for you? How have you had to be like, okay, I'm at a new limiting belief with money. Right. Now I need to move to the next.
Right. One of those things that helps me a lot is when I'm really feeling an anxiety or fear moment is trying to remember back to the last peak or the last valley and how I felt in that moment. Is it similar? Yes. Did I get through it? Yes. So if I got through that and I remember that and I bring that moment into the now, I'm able to move with a more confident energy because it's like, all right, we've been through this before. It's a higher level now, but the players are a bit different, but the game's the same. right? So if I can remember back to that, the fear doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't go away, but it gives you the fortitude just to push past it. Another thing that can be done too, and we know obviously surrounding. And I can't stress that enough, because like
shit matters.
Yeah, it really does, because the problem that you're looking at is, it seems big to you, but the person on the other side of that is just like, oh, yo, we did that last year, and this is what happened. Yes. And it wasn't even that big of an issue. You know what I mean? Like
it is that.
Yeah.
It's like when, it's literally like when they're like, tell your problems to God and he'll laugh at you.
Yeah.
It's like when you have people higher than you, you're like, but I'm at this crossroads, and they're like, oh, girl. I just did that. You good? Do that.
You good? Because it's like our brain literally, like it's literally our brain's job. Like if we don't have all the information to a future event of where we're going to, it fills in the holes, because the brain really does want to know like what's up ahead, because its job is to protect you.
Yeah, your primitive brain is like not safe. That's safe. Unclear.
Yes, we gonna die. Yeah. You know, like literally, that's what happens.
Don't put yourself in that situation.
Right. So you actually need somebody to tell you there's life after death. You know. Like, so
it's like you have to die to these disbeliefs. Yes. Every time you're like, I believe this and I'm not allowed to believe this. I'm choosing to believe this.
Right. Right.
Die to your disbelief.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. So that's what I would say. Those are the biggest, most impactful things that have helped me move with every stage. Because it's like, you know, you're making a certain amount of money now, but like, how am I going to make that amount of money? I don't know how I'm going to make that amount of money. Like, that seems really hard, actually. So, like, again, who can I enlist to help me with that?
And then when you surround yourself with those people, they're like, why are you not making that amount of money? And you're like, I don't know. Make it make sense.
Yeah, make it make sense. And then understanding too, though, like I think, and at some point in time when somebody comes to you and they're like, you know, why aren't you making that amount of money? You might feel offended by that. Mm-hmm. But it's not like they're meaning it in a derogatory way. It's almost like, yo, come on. Like it's a like, come on over here. It's cool over here. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's like, I've felt like I'm in this season of like, old me is like, I feel good here. I'm safe here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I have all these other people that are like, I'm just bring your ass. Like, come on. Like, let's go. Like, we see you here. Yeah. We want you here. Right. Let's go. Yeah. And like my old beliefs are like, no, I finally got here and I'm okay here.
I finally just got comfortable here.
Yes. Like, I'm comfortable with receiving and spending this amount of money. Yeah. Leave me be.
Right.
And God put these people in my life and they're like, no, that was a bus stop. Get back on and let's roll. Yeah. And your comfort level, your ego says like, just rest in this for a minute.
Yeah. And it's okay to rest, you know, it's okay to enjoy.
Yes.
But we all get that inkling.
Yes.
Once you rest for a little bit. And then it's like, well, what else is next?
What else I had
fun here.
If I can do that, can I do this?
Exactly. I had fun here. I'm ready to go.
So this is a good question because I think a lot of people go through this when it comes to being risk adverse or the next level. We just talked about this, right? Beating the new boss, the new barrier. One of the things that was hard for me to figure out was because the rich are people that are willing to take risks, right? The lesson for me wasn't because at first I couldn't decipher sometimes when it was, are you being painted this vision and just go in the figure it out, the how to, the figure outable moment to get this amount of money or this investment or to be able to make this much money to keep this thing going. And it'll come. So is it just go? Because I am that type of person. Or when am I going too far and I'm seeing something that if I jump off the cliff, I'm being unrealistic with myself. Or am I going to, which I think is most people's fear, when you get into a mindset of like, okay, I'm moving too far, too fast. Am I going to send myself into a situation I can't get out of? Bankrupt. You know, we think we'll live under a bridge. We're like, I'm going to spend this amount of money and it's not going to come back. And I'm going to be under a bridge and I'm going to be homeless and I'm going to have to start my business all over again. And that wasn't the lesson for me. I realized the lesson was learning either can happen. It's totally true. Your primitive brain actually isn't that false in the fact that can happen. It's a warning. But if it does, it's an invitation for you to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
If it does, it's not failure, it's a lesson.
Right.
It's a learning opportunity for you to say, okay, how do I do this differently next time?
Absolutely.
And don't threaten yourself or punish yourself
Right.
for being open to risk, because that is the only way that you will be able to do this.
Absolutely. And it's like, also too, understanding that you want to take risks, but you don't want to be reckless with the risk, you know, like educate yourself and make sure like you're not going to know all the pieces to the puzzle or like every last thing, but how much can you educate yourself on the topic or the subject or whatever you're doing with your money or your time that can prevent most of the risk. Now, like you said, some of it's just, you're just going to fail and that's okay. And sometimes when you feel like you're moving too fast too soon, like, are you really moving too fast too soon? Or is that just the path you chose? And yeah, when you move too fast too soon, sometimes failure comes along with that, but that's okay. That's part of the process of learning. So like, if you knew like how many mistakes we make, like we've invested like $250,000 into this one company and guess what? We're not getting back, you know? So it's just like, but that's okay, you know, because that's what you do. You put your pieces out there and something's going to hit, you know? So are we making more or are we gaining more? Not even just about money. Are we gaining more than we're losing? And when we can put ourselves out there and we can continually fail, failure no longer becomes as scary as it used to be. So it's just really exercising that muscle, knowing that, yeah, things are going to go wrong. And that is the life of entrepreneurship. Are you willing to get on the ride?
Are you willing to get on the ride that you can't see where it stops?
I find like there was this one client that I had in my group program, and she was so afraid of failure. And she's like, yo, how do I just get over the fact of being afraid of failure or being afraid of failing? I'm like, girl, like
fail fast.
Fail
fast, fail forward, and fail now. Get it out the way.
You can't go through life without failing.
Yes.
You know, and like with little babies too, like little babies, when they first start walking, Cam first started walking, you know, like I'm sure he fell down a few times.
Yes.
And you never were like, yo, Cam, you ain't never walking. Stop walking. You're a failure. No. And no baby thought that either. The baby kept going and maneuvering and learning how to move their body in gravity in the space and not bump into things over time. And it didn't matter how many times they failed. So it's just like, again, like condition yourself to understand that whatever is going to happen, even the worst that can happen, when you build the tools and when you fail a few times, you know how to get yourself back up from failure. And you were talking about inflation earlier and like how can that can really like scare people right now because inflation is off the chain right now. It really is like
wild.
Crazy.
Shit's wild.
But when, again, you educate yourself, you put yourself in position, and that is joining programs, going to places like Innovative Income, developing your skills and being around certain people. It's like, you know what? We could lose all our money today. But do you have the knowledge to regain it? This is why people go bankrupt all the time. People lose money all the time, but they're back in 2 years. Why?
Yep.
Because they have the tools in place to rebuild it again. Yes. And it's not really, again, it's not about the money or the things that we're accumulating. It's the knowledge, the person that we're becoming, and the energy we're exuding, because even if we lose it, it's never really lost.
No. So, oh my God. Oh, this is so good. You're so right. When I learned, this doesn't even come my way anymore, thank God. But like, I remember when I would potentially take on new clients, or I would consider a new investment. And, you know, some of those clients would say like, how do I know, when does my ROI come? How do I know when I'm going to make the money back? And I would be like, I would always tell a client, like, if that's what you're doing this for, find someone else. Because that's not, and it's not to say that that won't be the result, but if that is your intention, you're doing this with the wrong intention. Right. And I've learned as a person that's made investments, I've never made a bad investment, even if I didn't get the result that I was looking for. Because you said a whole word. I've never spent a shit ton of money and been like, oh, well, it didn't change my business. That wasn't the intention. Yeah. It changed you. It changed me. There's so many things you have to, when I make a big investment, it don't even matter if nothing changes. I will literally be like, well, now I know I can spend that amount of money. Hey, if I can spend $2K monthly and nothing changed, I can now take that money and put it somewhere else and grow my social media, or I can put it in a portfolio, or I can invest it. Like I just did that for 6 months and maybe nothing happened, but now I know I can spend that amount of money on something that will change my life. Absolutely. So I practiced spending that amount of money.
Yeah.
Like,
there you go. That was just practice. There
like,
you go.
There's always something, like when you put money into circulation, or like when I put that amount of money back, what is the age old saying they always say, like, if you can spend that much money, you can earn that much money. So if you're asking for $2,000 a month, I'm just using this as a cursor. If you're asking for $2,000 a month, but you've never spent $2,000 a month, good freaking luck. Like, you cannot ask for something that you've never in practice spent. So I always realized the more that I'm willing to spend and invest in things, the easier it is for me to ask for that value.
And receive it. It opens up your portal to receiving more. Yeah, absolutely. Even with that situation where I said we lost $250,000 in this one business deal, that taught us what to look for in partnerships. And the work that we needed to do where we saw holes. Like, I saw holes the whole time. But it's like, you know what? Like, it's okay. You know, it's fine. It's not that big of a red flag. No, it was a glaring red flag. So the next time in business partnership, I know that, okay, that's not something to look over. Like, listen to your intuition, listen to your gut. And you know what you're talking about from the beginning, but it's just like, again, I learned how to deal with business partnerships and how to find partnerships with that situation. So,
okay, hold on. You said gut and money. We have made this two separate things. We have made money based on logic and masculinity. And we have said your gut and your feelings and emotions have nothing to do with money, when indeed I believe them to be very intertwined.
Absolutely. Everything to do with it.
Can you give me some insight into like where we have mismatched this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, really at the basic root of it, a lot of times and I know like we don't want to involve feelings and business because it's so like feminine and you can't like go off your feelings and your emotions.
You can't run a business when you're emotional,
you know, or whatever. But, money has a lot of emotion tied to it. And just with anything, when we feel a certain way about a person or about an event or an action, we stay away from it. So case in point, when we grow up thinking that people who make money are filthy rich, or they're always the villains in movies, or things like that, we inadvertently feel a type of way about people who make money and who are wealthy. And we don't want to be bad people. We don't want to be like those villains or those bad people because we feel like, again, they're bad people. So we feel like they're bad people and those bad people have money. I don't want to be a bad person. So I'm going to inadvertently push money away because it automatically equates to money equaling bad. So if I feel like money is bad, or I feel like people with money are bad, I'm going to push that away from them. Or away from me, not them. They're going to keep getting money. But I want to push it away from me. So it's like, how do we feel about money already? How do we feel about certain actions that we're taking in our business too? Because that also can block money from us. Like if we don't feel like we don't like to do certain things in our business and we continue to do them, of course, again, there are certain stages in your business where you are the person who does everything. But at a certain point, there needs to be a time where if you don't feel like you can do it, you need to hire it out because that might be an action that's preventing more clients from coming into your business, again, blocking money from you. So feeling is all intertwined into it. And I know a lot of times we're always just like, yo, push it through. You just gotta go like, just do it, you know? And
push
like,
the table over.
Exactly. And again, there's times where you can do that, but a lot of times you can't do it consistently because that's just not who you are. Some people can put, like my husband will just be, I don't care, I'm just doing it, blah, 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 blah. That's not me. So I'm just going to find somebody who can take that off my plate and do that. And apparently it makes more money for me. So
it's so funny you say that. I got a couple things to say about feelings, but when people get into like explaining sales tactics, like very deep sales tactics of like, I just never forget. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were explaining how like when you make a sale, you should always make sure the decision maker is on the phone. So if it's the wife or the husband or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. I don't ever want my business to look like that.
Yeah.
I don't ever want my business to look like that. Like I know there's always some sales involved, but I want my feelings in it. I want their feelings in it. I want them to feel safe with me. Absolutely. I don't want that icky.
That
and
pressure.
So,
On them. Yeah.
And side note, when you realize you're a money magnet, let me tell you, all you do is you just learn how to like the beautiful art of the pivot. Like when I tell you now there's no fear comes and I'm like, okay, is this just an opportunity for me to like shift what I think about this, shift how I feel about things right now? Or is it just an opportunity for me to pivot? My girlfriend said it the other day and I was like, that right there. She was like, they about to go through inflation. I'm not. Like, she was like, They gonna deal with that crazy
Hallelujah.
shit. It's not what I'm about to go through. And I was like, amen. But as someone that went through this recently, because you just talked about feeling, I want to bring this up because I actually learned this at a Tony Robbins conference.
Oh my gosh, I love Tony Robbins.
But it was so true. He was like, think about how you feel and then making the decision afterwards. Like he was like, if you're doing something and you feel crappy, it is so easy for you to question yourself, lack confidence, not be able to show up. And God forbid you go and try to sell something at that rate. And you're also telling energetically that you are not inviting anything in.
Absolutely.
Your shoulders are down, your body is crutched, you are not open to receiving anything.
Absolutely.
And he was like, but when you change your state and you change how you feel, you can make better decisions. When you can make better decisions, you can attract more, you can invite more in, and you're not saying no to yourself, therefore no one is saying no to you. And he was like, think about it. When you are dancing freely in the morning, when you are happy, when you change your state, you feel incredible and confident about yourself. You are not saying no to anything. And I know that is like a very elementary way of looking at things, but it is true. I have never when I have a morning where I'm like dancing around, I feel good. I feel energetic. I feel confident, attractive, beautiful, loving. I'm overflowing with love to give. I feel like when I'm like, okay, my cup is full and I have all this to give, I feel like the universe is like, here's all of this for you to receive. I want your cup to continue to be an overflow. Yeah. Because when you're in overflow, you love to give.
Absolutely. Can I just ask, what Tony Robbins event did you go to one? Because did you?
No.
Okay.
It was the last. So I actually bought UPW.
Yes.
I bought UPW and then COVID happened. And so we never got to go.
Oh, man.
But I've seen him 2 years in a row at ClickFunnels. He speaks for like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah. You were at ClickFunnels. He was there. Yes. It was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I went to UPW after that because when I saw him there, I was like, yo, I gotta see him. I gotta see him. And you're exactly right. You can't tell yourself no. You will not say no. He literally had us chanting. I almost felt like I was in a cult when I was there. He was like, yes, 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 yes. And we were all like saying yes. And it was just like, yeah, fuck yes. You know what I mean? So you're exactly right.
You can't
I loved
change
it. You
your
can't.
state after that.
Yeah, you can't.
And you're like, I could sell anyone. I would try me. Come. I could. I could. No one could change my state right now.
Absolutely not.
Therefore, no one could change my decision.
Yeah.
And if my decision is that I'm going to be a money magnet, if I'm going to be rich, if I'm going to be all of these things, like you're not changing that.
Absolutely not.
Your negativity can kiss it. But speaking of like rituals and affirmation and all these things that somebody might be listening to this and be like, okay, I've said all the things in the mirror 3 weeks in a row and nothing. What are some tools, tips, and maybe like your favorite thing to do, especially when you're working with someone that feels like they're working backwards when it comes to money manifestation?
Absolutely. EFT tapping is a really good one. So even if we think like their beliefs and circumstances and situations that we move through, you were actually talking about that a little bit earlier. There can still be a lot of energy and emotion surrounding that. But if it's really conscious, it's also even better. So, tapping is a form of therapy where we're hitting on certain energy points or energy centers or mirroring points in the body while saying not just affirmations, but you're bringing light to how you currently feel about the situation, which is really powerful because a lot of times when we feel a certain way and we feel like it's wrong to feel a certain way, we push it down and we're like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. It's bad for me to feel that way. And it kind of just makes the issue and the energy persist. So with tapping, we can bring that energy to the surface, that emotion to the surface, the thoughts, and put words to that and honor those. And then we continue to tap through certain points and we move into a more affirmative way of talking, way of being with the new thought pattern or energy that we want to move through. And you'll notice like after you're doing it, you feel so much more relaxed, so much more calm. The energy isn't as charged around the feeling or thought. And it's actually, you talked about state, a great way to change your state and move out of that. So I would encourage you to look up more on that because it's a lot easier to learn through visually looking at it opposed to somebody just talking about it. So that's a great way. I feel like if you're into it, hypnotherapy is also a great way. And I know people get really scared by that word because you think that somebody's going to put you into a state where you can't control yourself, but you're fully aware, you're fully controlled. I mean, you are in full control. It's just they're guiding you through a past experience, and you almost essentially guide yourself a lot of times too. So it's allowing you to actually go deeper into the subconscious mind where 90% of our beliefs and our actions come from, and actually going straight to the core of the issue and reprogramming there. Because if we don't go straight to the subconscious, it takes time, and it's obviously going to take time. But when we go straight to the subconscious mind, we pierce the root of the issue, and we can again change the belief there. So hypnotherapy is really great for that as well. I also and you said something simple, dancing. Literally, dancing literally can shift any mood, but not just dancing, saying affirmations or affirming things around money during that time, because when we're in high energy states, that's also another way the subconscious mind gets reprogrammed. When you are in an emotionally charged event and something occurs, you really remember it. Just like when you on your wedding day, when your child is born, when you graduate at college, or big moments in your life, you probably remember who was there, what was occurring, the conversations, what you were wearing, but you probably don't remember anything that you ate yesterday. Why? Because it wasn't that of an important time to you. The energy wasn't as fully charged. But when we can get dancing or exercise, and that's why sometimes you see people running outside and they yell things to themselves. It's because you get it imprinted, it literally gets imprinted into your brain, like a nerve starts to be created to help that thought or belief be fully formed.
Yeah, this is like NLP. Yeah. That's deep NLP stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's massive. Yeah. No, just to hit on that, because like I mentioned, I'm using myself in this example. I have always been a jump out of the plane, figure it out on the way down type of girl. Like I can be like, here's my massive idea to my team. And they're like, oh my God, what? Yeah. Jessica, how are we going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there. but I know it's a thing. Yeah. And, for the first time ever, about maybe it was a month and a half ago, I don't know what the hell happened. And I had to do an energy audit, and I realized it had a lot to do with a lot of things I was surrounded by, plus the news, plus everyone just deeply believing this inflation, because it is real. Factually, it's real. I started to get really anxious. And it got to a point where I was losing sleep. And I was like, yo, what is going on? And I had to go back to the tools. Yeah. I had to go back. I was like, wait, you know how to do this. You've been here. I don't know that I've been that anxious before, but I was like, yo, you had to build on this. You know these tools. Go back to your affirmations. Go back to your controlling your state, your energy. So I was waking up every morning, going out on the balcony. I was affirming, using my affirmations. I was journaling. I was get all this negative shit out so you can get back to you, because it was controlling what I was creating. And I was creating disparity. I was creating dysfunction. I was creating, I was just generating more fear. And literally, excuse me. Literally, I did not get clients for 30 days. That has never happened to me in my 3 years of business. And for it was actually 39 days, I got no clients. So what kept happening was I just kept affirming the cyclical cycle of the fear and the anxiety that I created. Because when it first came, it wasn't real. Yeah. And then it became real because I made it real. And so I had to back myself out of that, because I was like, this is not who you are. Look at your life. You've created this. This is not real. Right. And I had to go back to all the tools. So while these things might seem minuscule, they are very, very, very useful and very real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a couple more too. Some that are really simple is, that I like to tell my ladies is take out some money and some cash and just put it right by your nightstand. So it can be the first thing you see when you wake up and the last thing you see before you go to bed. What we know is that the 20 minutes after wakefulness and the 15 minutes before we go to sleep are our most impressionable times during the day, because we're still in that relaxed theta state from sleep in the morning. And again, that's a great way to pierce the subconscious super early before the conscious can actually start saying, oh, no, that's not true. No, that's not real. Ooh. And then the 20 to 15 minutes before bed, whatever you're doing the 20 to 15 minutes before bed, will then be assimilated for the next 4 hours while you're sleeping. So it's great to have that. And it's also great to journal during that time, or again, affirm during that time, or listen to some sort of theta binaural beats match with money affirmations or wealth affirmations, prosperity affirmations, whatever, love.
Explain
whatever
those beats again.
They're theta binaural beats.
So we use those in EMDR.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Oh,
that's how you get in that
I have to
state.
try this.
So that works. That works.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It gets you in a state where you can like literally visualize anything.
So deep.
Yes.
And we want to get deep. Because these traumas are deep.
Yes.
Right? They've been running for years. And if that's what we've been used to for 30, 35, 40 years of our life, we can't expect these things to go away overnight. But they've been literally programmed in our brain, in our body to mount a physical response when money is said, when money circumstances come up. And we just literally have to reprogram the body and the mind. So,
hold on. And when we talk about disbeliefs or limiting beliefs in money, there's so many things that have occurred in your life that you are married to that you don't understand. Absolutely. You just talked about hypnosis and tapping. I did hypnosis 2 years ago and uncovered a thing that I didn't even know was a thing, which was, I don't even know how she got to this, but she was just like, she got to gift giving. I don't know how we got to this. And she's like, okay, you have associated receiving gifts from men to they've done something wrong because of what I saw my father do when he something happened between him and my mother. Wow. My father brought home a gift to my mother took him back. Wow. In a time when I was 5 and I didn't understand why would you let that happen. Right. So she was able, so I had to do hypnosis and I had to tap my way out of this one to where she was able to tie the fact that I was in a partnership where my partner bought me a car and every time I drove the car, I felt like I was controlled. Wow. And she was like, you have to get out of that you deserve this gift. Absolutely. This gift is for you. And it is meant to make you feel, and I don't mean to say this in a materialistic way, but you should feel powerful in it. And yet you feel less than and controlled in it because you associate gift giving from men as what did you do? Yeah. What did you do? And what are you trying to keep from me? Right. And so I had to tap my way out of this idea that the minute I receive a gift, like I literally she had to put me in a state and help me imagine that every time I got in my car, it was actually like a way of someone giving me a hug. Oh. And it was like, because I could not receive gifts from people because I always thought they were either hiding something from me. Yeah. They were lying to me. Deep. Yeah. And there's so many things associated with money around this, whether someone's borrowed money from you and never given it back, whether you have loaned money and could not pay it off, like whether you watched your parents fight over money. Right. I'm not kidding you when the tiny, minute things associated around the exchange of money could literally control your subconscious mind. Absolutely. And it's so important for you to like go deep with that.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. That's wild.
Yes. So speaking of tools, because one of the hardest things for me to wrap my brain around was affirmations, but this to date has been one of the best gifts I've ever been given. And I have to give credit where credit is due. This is like 3 years in the making. So I don't know. Do you know Elijah Rubin?
I don't.
Okay. So he's a real estate investor in Arizona, cool. A former friend, or still a friend of mine. He is huge on affirmations. And so him and his partner created these money affirmations and then they shared them with us. And then I passed them around my friend group. And then last year, this was made for me and I'm going to share it with you guys. It hangs in my bathroom and I want you to see it. Yes. And those are actually fake $100 bills, but they're real AF to me. And so I just thought it was really cool to share these. We could end with these. And I actually have a digital copy of this and we'll wrap this. I have a digital copy of this and we'll wrap this in the show notes for you guys if you would like them, but I'm going to read them out loud. And so that way, if you're like, how do I affirm? What do these affirmations look like? And I'm sure Lorisa has some incredible affirmations as well, but I'll share these with you guys for funsies because you can use this right now. I want you to leave with something like end this episode and be like, I'm saying that. So write some of these down, put these in your notes. So this actually hangs in my bathroom and is visual to me every single morning. And sometimes when I'm feeling it and I'm moving around and I'm dancing, I scream these out loud with like tenacity. So 1, I am a genius and I use my wisdom daily. I give myself permission to be powerful. I have absolute certainty in my ability to generate any amount of income I choose. Money is flowing to me from both unexpected and expected sources. I say that one a lot. I consistently attract all the right people to help me grow my business. I am a brilliant and savvy businesswoman, and I have everything it takes right now to grow Insta Podcast to $1 billion company. So there's a blank there, so you fill it in with what you'd like. I have all the talent, intelligence, and money that I need to create this new masterpiece. I'm always calm, succinct, happy, and outstanding. I'm a master presenter and persuader on and off the platform. My life is a masterpiece. I live each day with passion and purpose. I am success in all that I do. My life is filled with prosperity and abundance. I am happy, prosperous, and abundant. I am a powerful creator. I attract all the wealth and opportunities I need for my financial success. I focus on all good things in life and give thanks for them. And I am grateful for my family and friends. So this is like a combination, actually. Like I knew there were some money ones in here and some personal. But if you don't learn to love what you generate for your life, money and opportunity, it will not come.
It ain't coming.
Do you have any money affirmations you love?
Money comes to me easily, frequently, abundantly. That's like a pretty consistent one that we use a lot.
Yep.
Me and my household. So, I had given my dad some fake money, and I wrote that affirmation on the back of it, and he changed it to "Money comes fast and furious." And I'm like, Dad, no, it's money comes easily, frequently, abundantly. But I loved how he made it his own.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? He didn't just take it for what I said. He was like, yeah, for me, it's fast and furious. Like that's what he wanted. So
the thing needed to come through.
yeah. But money comes frequently, easily, frequently, abundantly is ours.
Yeah. I won't lie. Anytime I'm anxious, I find myself, whether I'm on my knees or I'm just like looking, like I'll stand on my balcony and I'm just looking outside and I'm like, I receive money from both expected and unexpected sources, because one of the most powerful things is unexpected money. Absolutely. But it happens all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
Does.
So tell them where they can stalk you so they too can be rich in real life, and just learn more about you and get some of these gems you be dropping. Cause girl, so tell them where they can find you.
Hey, you can stalk me on Instagram at Lorisa Leigh. You can also find me on my podcast on iTunes, The Wealth Babe. And right now that's where you can find me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for helping us get this money mindset together. And thank you for joining us and sharing your rich in real life.
Thank you for having me.